The Department of Justice is supposed to work for the American people, not the president. So when the New York Times reports that DOJ officials, FBI leadership, and White House staff sat together in the Situation Room and drafted a memo to shape the public narrative around the Jeffrey Epstein files, that's not politics, that's a structural breakdown. And who exactly were they protecting? Nobody's cleanly answered that yet. July 7th last year, the Justice Department releases a memo. It says Epstein's files contain no client list. That memo, according to the New York Times, wasn't drafted by DOJ alone. White House staff were in the room. FBI leadership too, and the conversation reportedly centered on one thing: how to frame this release to minimize political damage. Now jump to this week. The Times publishes a detailed account of that whole process. Within hours, J.D. Vance's chief of staff, with him since his 2022 Senate run, quietly resigns. No statement, no explanation. Then Politico drops a piece with anonymous White House operatives describing internal chaos. Trump is furious with Congress, they say, and within days, the White House pulls its own DNI nominee after Congress refuses to extend FISA authority. 3 events, 3 days, one very uncomfortable pattern. That July 7th memo had one central claim: no client list in the files. We now know that's not accurate. Names have surfaced since. Some individuals have faced consequences, more so outside the US than inside. The memo's core argument has been contradicted by the very files it was describing. Connect that to something else. Todd Blanche, the AG's top deputy, reportedly met with Ghislaine Maxwell shortly after that Situation Room meeting. Right around that time, the Wall Street Journal published a report on what's called the birthday book, allegedly linking Trump to Epstein's circle. Trump is currently suing the Wall Street Journal over it, and in his own legal filing, he cites Blanche's Maxwell interview as part of his defense. A DOJ official meets a convicted sex trafficker. That conversation ends up in a presidential lawsuit. All roads lead back to one Situation Room meeting. The DOJ isn't just another agency, it's the institution that decides who gets prosecuted and who doesn't, who gets investigated and who walks. The moment it starts coordinating narratives with the White House, even once every decision it makes carries a question mark. That's not a left or right concern, that's a structural one. And the FISA fight adds another layer. Congress just blocked its own president's intelligence nominee over competence concerns. The justice apparatus and the intelligence apparatus are both under pressure, simultaneously. Now, the counter-argument isn't weak. Agencies coordinate with the White House on sensitive releases regularly. The meeting could have been cautious bureaucracy, not a cover-up. The memo might have reflected what they actually knew at the time. That's worth taking seriously. But a cautious memo doesn't explain why the timeline, Maxwell interview, presidential lawsuit, deputy chief of staff resignation, all compresses into the same 72-hour window after the Times story drops. The Epstein story has never closed. It's been managed. What this Times piece does is pull back the curtain on how that management actually worked. The Vance chief of staff departure is a signal. 3 years with a principal gone the morning after a story like this. That's not a coincidence, you just accept. The DNI reversal matters too. Republican members of Congress just told this White House no. That's a real crack. Watch the next 60 days. Specifically, whether any oversight committee opens a formal inquiry into that July 7th memo, and whether the officials named in the Times piece get called to testify. If that happens, this becomes an accountability moment. If it doesn't, it quietly becomes another news cycle. Which brings me to the question I'll leave you with. If a DOJ memo coordinated with the White House turns out to contain a false central claim, is that a cover-up or just a mistake made under pressure? Where's the line? Tell me what you